something. If he's got those legs and he feels good, he may have to try his own kind of acceleration and test Andy to see if he's tired, because at 10 kilometers to go for Alberto Contador, he started the day 4 minutes 39 seconds down, and he's fighting his way back into the picture. He's put back 33 seconds at the moment.
Well, he's getting into that zone now, and he's really all of a sudden bounced back in the Tour de France this afternoon, Phil. 30 seconds is the gap that he's got over Schleck and Evans, and he's looking like for a very likely leader, very likely winner of the stage here this afternoon. Which
would be not inconsiderable consolation for the former champion of Spain and the 3 times winner of the Tour de France and the emphatic winner of this year's Giro d'Italia. They now pass under that same 10-kilometer banner. Life's getting a bit complex in the pack here in the race for second place, though, that's for sure. And Evans won't panic. He will be told by his team car the time gaps. He will know exactly where Contador is, as will Andy Schleck. So they're going to hold themselves, because this levels out in the middle as Contador is on the top corner there. And now what's happening? A little tester?
Well, Frank Schleck's having a go now, immediately covered by Cadel Evans, moving up into 3rd position. Andy Schleck, this was what we expected to come, but I think as soon as he sees Cadel Evans there, he'll sit up, and maybe we'll see another counter move coming from Andy.
This is one Schleck sandwich that's going to give them indigestion, because Cadel Evans is marking both of them right now, and he still does not look like a man under pressure. They are using what energy they have left after a week in the Alps to try and dump the Australian, and I'm not sure they can. This man who's lost too much time for the moment to win the Tour de France, but that is a temporary situation. Ask me in another 20 minutes, he might be out to win the Tour de France.
Well, he could be. He's not looking comfortable. He doesn't look like he's enjoying this. It's not the fluid action we've seen before. He's being chased at around about 20 seconds by Pierre Rolland. Rolland is not actually giving up too much space here, and he, in fact, I think, is riding an incredible race at 24 years of age. All of a sudden, we may be looking at the renaissance of French cycling.
We've got a couple of good ones coming through this year in the Tour de France, youngsters, and in the next 2 years, yes, the French might at last find a winner since Bernard Hinault back in 1985. And you're looking at one right here. He's riding to the white jersey today as the best young rider in the Tour de France. Around that corner.
Round the corner is Andy Schleck come up to the front to take up 1st position, again ahead of Cadel Evans. Sammy Sanchez is there in the orange jersey.
Well, that was a flurry by Frank Schleck, but I think it hurt him more than it hurt anybody else. He's now slipped back into 4th or 5th place in the pack. His jersey unzipped the whole way. Here's the lonely figure of Thomas Voeckler, who has gone out of the lead of the Tour de France with total pride. Today he's ridden absolutely brilliantly.
No, he certainly
starts
has.
his defence on the back here. Now just hanging on to any that goes by him, really.
He's trying to hang on to anything going by. He's lost himself for 1 minute and 46 seconds now, and still Pierre Rolland refuses to give up in 2nd position. That group with the Schleck brothers now, Phil, is 40 seconds almost behind the overall lead of Alberto Contador.
Well, a minute, nobody would panic, but much more than that, they might start to panic. Alberto Contador has shown us in previous tours he is a very fast time trialist these days. He has beaten fabulous Cancellara in a time trial as Chambéry, so he knows how to ride a time trial. He can't be discounted.
I don't think he can be discounted. I think if it starts to get up to the 1 minute mark, then the 1.5 minutes, then Cadel Evans needs to start panicking a fraction and maybe come to the front and try and nail back Alberto Contador towards the end of this race.
Everybody has cocked the triggers of the guns at Cadel Evans these last few days. He's been reeling from the way he's been attacked. He's used his own strength with no help from anybody to keep his chances alive. Same happened again today with the mechanical when he was with them. And now he's still with them here, and it's Andy Schleck again setting the pace. This incredible rider from Luxembourg with those long gangly legs, and he smashes those pedals on the climb.
Well, he's not asking for any help either. He's the man who dominated the race yesterday. And still this group formed together. Thomas Voeckler is disappearing completely from the picture today.
Voeckler continues to climb, but it's Alberto Contador is heading up to the lone summit. Voeckler is now over 2 minutes behind Alberto Contador, who keeps this incredible rhythm going. Voeckler is even on his own back there. There's an attack by Peter Velitz from HTC. Another surprise man. May not be an immediate reply to this, although it looks might be Sanchez's reply.
Well, let's not forget he was 3rd overall in the Vuelta a España last year. He's ridden himself carefully through the mountains, and he's riding with a man looking like a man who knows exactly where his body can go. Sanchez has seen that he's got himself a little bit of a gap there, and he's looking to try and keep himself well up in the top 10 at the end of the day. Now, he could be a dangerous rider, Sanchez. He was was one of the strongest riders on the previous Col du Galibier.
He was. He dropped out after a terrific ride through the Pyrenees. He got right up amongst the leaderboard. He's dropped out to 8th place yesterday at the end. He's 5 minutes 20 behind Voigtler, and take off 15 seconds. He's 5:05 behind Andy Schleck, who's the leader on the road right now. But he seems to have recovered entirely today. He's had a very, very good day's racing. But it's still the story of the renaissance of the winner of the Tour de France 3 times, Alberto Contador. This is the picture I love to see, but the riders must never see it.
No, it's absolutely horrendous. Those are the 21 switchbacks that takes the race right the way up to Alpe d'Huez. That's not Alpe d'Huez there. That's just the small town of Oison. A little bit further up, you see the zigzags continue right up, and that's where the finishing line is, right in that hamlet on the top of the Alpe.
And that's still where we've got to go. We have just under 5 miles, 7.7 kilometers to go to the summit. 2:19 back to the yellow jersey, but now Sanchez is also going away. He's not going to be reacted on by the others because he's lost too much time now.
Well, it's now up to brother Frank to do the pacemaking. Cadel Evans just concentrating on the Schleck brothers. He knows exactly which riders he doesn't mind letting go in this race. It's all a question now of starting to calculate.
And Ryder Hezjedal, who made the move, has found the strength to stay with the Evans-Schleck group at the moment, just coming into our picture there. And that is a tremendous ride by the Canadian to hang on. Looking at the face now of Peter Velits as he comes up to the summit. Well, not the summit, but the next village along the way of Way. We're now looking at Sanchez licking his lips in the distance, the group they have just left. Rui Costa here now, he's going backwards from the leaders into the group at the moment, I think.
It's a little move by Thomas de Gent trying to get off the front. It's surprising to see him riding at the front end of this race, and with the men that are in that breakaway group, while a lot further back Thomas Voigtler using huge chunks of time. Phil, I've got him now down at in excess of 2.5 minutes in arrears.
Yep, he'll struggle all the way to the top, but he's fighting for a top 4 finish in the Tour de France now, and he's in the 4th position in the Tour de France, judging by his time gap just now. Just off the podium in Paris. That was the position that Samuel Sanchez was in last year. He wanted to be top 3 this year. At the moment, he's in 8th position now. Alberto Contador, is he doing enough to at least get on the podium? That's not a bad place to be as the defending Tour champion in the first 3 positions. This is certainly a determined day out for him.
Well, he really is going for it this afternoon. He knows what time he has to do. He's looking at a time difference between himself and Cadel Evans at the start of the day of 3 minutes and 32 seconds. And currently, Phil, he's put himself an awful long way back. And Cadel Evans now, I think, is going to start to look as if he's a little bit on the defensive.
Well, just looking here at the moment, the gap is beginning to be prized opening. Voigtler's group is back to 2:40, but the gap is still holding here. Sanchez is putting Velits into trouble now as the red jersey of Evans takes up the running again. 1 minute 42, our computer is saying, as Contador gets on with it. Andy Schleck is having to do the pacemaking, and Cadel Evans follows this time from Riblon, then Cunego, then Frank Schleck, and then Ryder Hezjedal. And the cheers now are for Alberto Contador. There were boos at the prize presentation nearly 3 weeks ago. Now they are cheers.
Well, you know what, Phil, this is an amazing ride back into the Tour de France by Contador. 36 seconds he is ahead of Sammy Sanchez, 53 seconds ahead of the Andy Schleck group, and that's getting very close up to the 1 minute mark. But now I think Andy Schleck himself is starting to take responsibility of making sure Alberto Contador doesn't get too much of a time advantage.
I think you're right. They've got to move in now because he's getting the sort of time gap which could lead to bigger time gaps for him in the time trial tomorrow. And it could all turn around in the last insignificant, we thought, 42 kilometres time trial around Grenoble tomorrow, which is literally down the bottom of the valley from where they raced today, enacting their final day in the Alps. And what a day this has been. Sanchez is now picking up Pierre Rolland. Rolland's seen him. He might try and raise the pace just a little.
Well, he'll trying to take a little bit of inspiration from seeing the way that the Spaniard is riding, and try and get onto his wheel and hold onto it for as long as possible, because what he's looking at is the possibility of trying to get himself a top 3 finish. And of course, at the end of the day for the Frenchman, he wants to try and get himself the best young rider competition. He's only 24 years of age.
The lone furrow of Alberto Contador, 27 seconds back to Sanchez and Rolland. A minute exactly now, the computer says. So the reaction here by Andy Schleck is closing the gap. And Cadel Evans, in that style he always has of concentration and rocks out the saddle, he's just sitting there and waiting. I think there's plenty left in that tank.
Well, I think we're looking now, Phil, at a gap that's come up to around about the 1 minute mark over the Cadel Evans group, and I would say it's starting to get a little bit precarious, because if Contador continues to ride like that, he gets a 1.5 minute advantage. Watch out for him in the individual time trial tomorrow, because it's 40 kilometers long, and with the climb in the middle, it could be well suited to Alberto Contador.
But 55 seconds now, and that's all it is, and they've gone back to 56 as I speak. So that's less than a minute now, and the road doesn't get really easier, but very shortly he's going to come round the corner. He'll see the chalets of the Alpe right in front of him, and they are still 3 miles away from the summit. So Contador leads the race at the moment at just on 28 seconds. We've got the group chasing them now, call it Chase 2. And then we've got in that group Frank Schleck, Andy Schleck, Cadel Evans. Thomas Voigtler, the erstwhile leader of the Tour de France for more than a week, is sitting off the pace by nearly 3 minutes now. The face and determination of Andy Schleck, who has really raced this Tour de France to win it.
Well, he certainly has, but Alberto Contador is the man doing the serious damage on the slopes of Alpe d'Huez. He said after the Giro d'Italia this year, he didn't actually have any competition from the end of the Giro up until the Spanish National Championships, and he was caught out there by a very good move by Jose Rojas. Now, he said at that point, Phil, there's one race I want to win this year, there's one more stage that I want to win, and that is Alpe d'Huez.
Well, corner after corner, the riders tick off. They can no longer see Alberto Contador, his grey jersey blending into the grey colour of the rock here of Alpe d'Huez. Number 11 with the red number on. Andy Schleck pushes on. Right behind him is Cadel Evans. Further up the road, the lone figure of Alberto Contador, 3-time champion. And really, they shouldn't be running in front of those cars. It's not a healthy thing to do.
Now we're going around the Dutch corner there. You can see it's painted in orange. They're dressed in orange today, not for the Basque supporters, but this is a little bit of Holland, and the crowd are going crazy.
This is Dutch corner, and they had hoped to be cheering Robert Hessing up to the lead here. He's had a terrible tour. Again, crashes for him. So they're reserving their cheers now for Alberto Contador, and that'll be quickly followed by Andy Schleck, Cadel Evans, Frank Schleck, Riblon. Ryder Hagedal is there, and Tommy Danielson has got himself back up here as well, the American, and also the little Prince Damiano Cunego.
Well, he's done a great job, Tommy Danielson. A little tap on the shoulder there from Ryder Hagedal. Said, look, mate, I'm almost cooked here this afternoon. You stay in contact, because we could be laying the foundations down for the team victory for Team Garmin Cervelo of the United States. But this man is doing a phenomenal job, Alberto Contador. I don't think I've ever seen him suffer quite as much as he's doing here. He's got the pride of a nation on his shoulders, the pride of Spain.
24 seconds, it's back to Sanchez and Pierre Roland. 57 seconds back to the Schlecks and Cadel Evans. That's ironic, because 57 seconds is the difference between Andy Schleck and Cadel Evans in the overall classification. Advantage at the moment to Andy Schleck. The yellow jersey at 2 minutes and 45 seconds. An immense crowd at Dutch corner, as many as we've ever seen, I think, Paul.
No, they actually queue up there for a couple of days to make sure they get it reserved for Holland, and you can see the Dutch flags waving nice and high. And if you ever fancy an all-night party, well, that's the place to go the day before the Tour de France actually comes to finish on the Alpe d'Huez.
Now, Contador, now who started the day 4:39 behind Andy Schleck, is now 3 minutes 30 behind him in the overall classification at the current time gains. He won't take 3:30 back off Andy Schleck in the time trial, so he's got to push on. They are fighting to save the Tour de France behind him and stop last year's champion getting it. As we look here now, the face of Samuel Sanchez trying to race for not what would be double points today in the King of the Mountain. Might well swing the King of the Mountains back in his favour with 40 points at the finish, but little matter of Alberto Contador is up ahead of him. This is Frank Schleck again taken over. Cadel Evans just closes his mouth and grits his teeth and grips the 2 wheels. Now let's go back to the car of Leopard Trek and listen to what they've got to say to the 2 Schleck brothers right now. This will be interesting.